Hi everyone, this is Cliff Keller, writing on a hilltop in Jerusalem. Welcome to Inside Stories. Jeremiah 43:8 begins the account of how God directed Jeremiah to build a pavilion of large stones on which Babylon's king, Nebuchadnezzar, would pitch his tent during a future invasion of Egypt. In 1886, archaeologist William Flinders Petrie, with a name like that I guess he had to go into archaeology, claimed to have actually discovered ancient Tahpanhes, as well as buried stone brickwork there that fit the biblical description contained in Jeremiah 43. The surviving Arab language place name rendering of that same location also seemed to confirm that at least one of King Zedekiah's daughters, who were also taken to Tahpanhes according to the book of Jeremiah, had lived there. The place was known as Qasr bint al-Yehudi, or Castle of the Jew's Daughter. So Petrie actually found the place. He found the stones and some language-related evidence to support Jeremiah 43. But here's the problem. Actually, four big problems. The first problem was that Jeremiah was a very old man when he arrived at Tahpanhes. This was about 5 years after Jerusalem fell to Babylon. His scribe, Baruch ben Neriah, who accompanied him to Tahpanhes, although he was probably not quite so old, was the only fellow that was likely to give Jeremiah any help. So how did these old guys go about mining rocks? The second problem is that Tahpanhes, where the prophet and Baruch ben Neriah were, as I said, virtual prisoners, was located on the boundary between the Arabian desert and the shallow, brackish, and probably malarial coastal marsh, about 15 miles south of the Mediterranean Sea. There were simply no large stones to be found in that area. The third problem follows from the second. The nearest source of the large stones that Jeremiah needed to fulfill the prophecy was an ancient quarry, almost certainly abandoned by the time Jeremiah arrived on the scene, which was located near the future site of modern Cairo and over 50 miles away from the fort at Tahpanhes. How did they even learn of the quarry? And even once they learned of it, how were they able to get there? The fourth and most significant problem is that Jeremiah and his scribe had no experience, no knowledge, no tools, nor were they even likely to have had the opportunity to travel more deeply into the Nile Delta and somehow find that quarry. Then they had to actually mine the stones, and if they were somehow able to do that, they had to find a way to haul them back to Tahpanhes over some really primitive and probably water-soaked terrain. So how did the prophet Jeremiah and his scribe, Baruch ben Neriah, manage to pull all that off? No one knows, of course, but my novel, Jeremiah's Last Call, comes up with what I think is an imaginative and plausible solution. I spent almost 2 years writing this novel while researching the book of Jeremiah. The process has been a huge learning experience and, as always seems to be the case, quite providential. Some quick examples. When I began my research, I had no idea that ancient Tahpanhes had been found and dug up by archaeologist Petrie. I noticed from maps of Egypt that Tahpanhes was situated near both desert and marshland, but I didn't know that the old fortress that became Jeremiah's virtual prison lay very close to a branch of the Nile that had been drying up for several centuries, which explains why that area on Egypt's border was so easily accessible to the Jewish remnant that came there. I also found that the political climate in Egypt at that time was perfect for the story. Egypt was about a decade away from a massive civil war and the end of the last dynasty that was controlled by Egyptian royal blood. The next pharaoh, Amasis, was an Egyptian general at that time, and he was a documented, bigger-than-life eccentric. Wonderful elements for a work of fiction, and Amasis plays a role in the story. I'll be posting more videos in the future. Please check out the description and links below this video. If you like what you've seen here and want to see more, please consider subscribing, liking, ringing the bell, telling your friends. Thanks for watching Inside Stories, and see you next time.